on the case right now. Glenn Ignazio, retired Air Force Special Operations Commander, joins us, and so does Dan Baer, who's the former U.S. Ambassador to the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Glenn, you go first on this, and tell me if you think this is off base. But the way I'm starting to think about this, and I think I adopted a lot of it from Aaron David Miller, who's been on a lot lately, is that this could be the deal. Like we keep talking about, oh, what's going to happen in 60 days? Is it going to be extended for 90 days? That this could be kind of it is what it is, and the president wanted to get out of this war in Iran, largely to save the markets and the economy, and Iran got what they got, and we're all going to move on. How do you see things today?
Yeah, I see it, basically the way you just structured it. I mean, again, it's an MOU, and a lot of people understand it is not a contract, so it is flexible in its terms. But some of the terms that are putting out there, it's not like you can go back up when you've given a discount to somebody when you're buying something, and I feel like that's the way it is. So as we press forward to this, the statements that are in that agreement or understanding are flexible in all terms, but everybody is marching to it as if that is the definitive agreement, this definitive amount of money, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's one of the situations we're facing right now. And of course, you've seen everybody respond accordingly.
Right. And all of that said, Dan, even if that is the case, at the very least, we got to make sure that Strait of Hormuz opens and remains open. And that does not seem to be a guarantee. What about what's going on with Israel and Lebanon and Hezbollah, and whether this next ceasefire will hold? Especially you get comments like this Ben-Gvir, as a far-right member of the Israeli governing coalition there, with these comments: with all due respect to the Americans, Israel must make it clear to the entire world that the blood of our sons and the security of our citizens are not for forfeit. Now, all of Lebanon must burn. All of Lebanon must burn, and talks about how our supreme duty is to protect the citizens of Israel and soldiers of the IDF. But what about a comment like that in a time like this?
Your reporter mentioned the remarks from Vice President Vance yesterday, and that was really quite striking to see a break between the United States and Israel that was so bluntly put. Obviously, I think that what has happened is that the MOU, it's an open question whether there actually is understanding. Both sides are coming forward with different articulations of what the MOU actually means. That may not be a communication problem. That may be a structural problem. And obviously for the United States, for President Trump, he's looking at gas prices. He wants the Strait of Hormuz open. In many ways, the MOU was really a deal to lower gas prices in the United States. That's his priority. And Israel's priority is its own security. And we're seeing a rupture between the United States and Israel right now because of the difference in opinion between the United States and Iran on this MOU.
Let me stay, Dan, with you just for one more. You mentioned gas prices. I have a screen. We'll put it on the telestrator. They have dropped below $4. That happened yesterday. Now we're at $3.97, down from the wartime peak, as you see there. So that said, I still think the question for this president will be, how does he compare to President Obama? It keeps getting asked over and over again, and we talked to Mark later. We'll get into maybe some of this, but 2015 versus 2026, and if you stop now, it's not a great comparison, is it, Dan?
It isn't a great comparison. Right now, I mean, we should remember that the JCPOA took over a year to negotiate. It was over 150 pages. The MOU is less than 3, I believe. So, I mean, there's a lot of work in front of us, and unfortunately for the president, he's now got a task to negotiate the work that's left to be done, all of the issues that are left to be addressed, with less leverage than he might have had. And so I think it's unlikely that he's going to end up with a deal that is better than the one that he tore up.
You agree with that, Glenn, or do you think there is some leverage in there for the president?
Yeah, I have to agree with Dan. I mean, there are definitely little pieces here and there and everything, but I mean, honestly, it has structured itself, or at least the structure itself has taken a lot of leverage away. I mean, the number one thing that we had was basically run in stranglehold from the economic standpoint. No way to get oil, no way to, make revenue from oil, nothing. So at that point, again, the straits being closed hit us. But really, that was the ultimate stranglehold we had on Iran, and that has changed immediately. So, again, it's what tactics are going to be used, but I agree with Dan.
Now, a lot's been made the last few days, and I'm not sure if it's a story or not. It might be in 2028 if he runs for president. But the buck stops with the current president. I think pretty much everybody agrees with that. That said, you, Dan, mentioned Vice President Vance and his comments. The Israel comments got a lot of attention yesterday. But so is this idea that he's kind of out front on all of this and that he owns all of this. So let's play this clip first with the president, quote unquote, joking in France about who takes the blame or the credit, and then the vice president responding the day after. Here it is.
If it works out, I'm going to take the credit. If it doesn't work out, I'm blaming JD.
I think the president was joking, but as he often does. But no, I think, look, the entire team has worked very well on this, and we've got this thing to a very good place for the American people. Spent over an hour on The View. So I actually have great experience in very hostile negotiations, and I've used that. I mean, look, Joy Behar is way tougher than the Iranians, and she and I are best friends now. So we're going to get to a good place here.
I don't know how the View joke worked, but I'm not sure whether the president's joke worked very well for the vice president either. But how do you view J.D. Vance's role in all of this, Dan?
I mean, the president's comments make me remember the saying, much truth is said in jest. I think the vice president is stuck with this, and I think he's stuck with a really hard hand to play. They're out there spinning that this is a win, but it's very hard to see this as a win. As I said, it's a deal to lower gas prices if the strait can be opened. But all of the main issues, the nuclear program, the missile program, the support for Hezbollah and others in the region, those are not resolved. And those are the same things that the president himself criticized President Obama for with the JCPOA. So I think J.D. Vance has his work cut out from him. Obviously, I hope that we are able to resolve all of those issues. I think it's good if the fighting remains stopped. But all of this underscores, frankly, the questions about the wisdom of going into this war in the first place.
You know, the last thing here, Glenn, I think that stands out to me, at least, again, if you're going on the initial part of the conversation that we identified, is that if this is the deal, and again, there'll be a lot of people unhappy if this is the deal, right? You better at least make sure the strait operates effectively. Like, this is the traffic. We'll go into this in more detail later in the show. That's been picking up in the Strait of Hormuz on the telestrator right now. And when I say picking up, you know, by yesterday we got up to this number of 25. But remember, we used to get 100 and it says it right here, we used to get 120 to 140 vessels a day through. So it's nowhere close to that. But at the same time, I'm a little worried, Glenn, that even that, with the warnings coming out of Iran today, they could close it again and that kind of thing, even that might not stick. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, when you take a look at the, you know, the markets are always emotional about this. So even the hint of that, we're going to see things climb, right? But at the same time as what these numbers are climbing is, again, there's still the mines and everything. So there are certain, I would say, channels that they're able to work through. But again, we got to get them increased. You got to get the insurance to accept it. So there's all those paradigms to it. But I do believe that we are really on the knife's edge because of Lebanon. We've always talked about how the Israeli relationship is always going to be deciding if this is going to succeed or not. And if basically Iran shuts down the straits, just like we're talking about, that would completely pummel everything from the deal, global perception of this. The Israelis will be very, very loud about pressing to Iran, and we'll have the issues all over again. So it is. We are really on a knife edge about this whole
let's
thing.
actually get a word on Lebanon. I have the map up here. You have the strikes and the ceasefire that's supposedly in place, Dan. So thoughts on all of this in terms of what the next movie from Benjamin Netanyahu apparently only has one friend left in terms of heads of state around the world, according to the vice president.
Yeah, and that friend is issuing some tough talk these days. I mean, Netanyahu is facing his own domestic political pressures from the perspective of the Israeli public. Netanyahu promised that this was going to deliver a solution, and unfortunately for him, what looks like President Trump's way out has been a kind of half measure, and that's not satisfactory to the Israeli public. I expect that it's going to be very hard for Bibi Netanyahu to back off from his claims that he will remain in Lebanon, that they will continue action there, and that friction between the United States and Israel over the actions in Lebanon will remain a very fragile touch point in seeing whether the Strait of Hormuz can be opened and whether the additional negotiations that are forecasted can actually be carried out.
It could give Iran the excuse that they could cite, Glenn, right? You know, at any point, say, well, here we go again. This violates our agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like I said, I think how many weeks we've talked about it is that we do something, make some progress, and then there'd be a strike from Israel and everything like that that would cause some, you know, turbulence. And we're sort of in that situation again. But you're absolutely right. When Iran is always stroking that we're the winner and all that, yes, there's that pride in projecting it. But one little thing that they can jump on to close the straits puts a stranglehold on against the United States, puts a stranglehold on Trump, global perception, and they don't have to change anything as far as what's going to go on with Israel. They can completely proceed with hostilities as much as they want.
Yeah, Robert Sherman's got an inside look at the strait coming up, which will be interesting in a few minutes. Glenn Ignazio and Dan Baer, we thank you both. And also interesting, this Mark Caputo interview, again,